leave with that. Another one of the ways in which we see the glory of the Lion through his works is in the kinds of people that he chooses. Remember the first point that I heard in 1984 was Jesus could have occupied center stage, but he allowed somebody else to take center stage. It's in the kind of people that he chooses. We have a couple from our church. She's passed on to be with the Lord right now. And it's another amazing story how God called him to go back to Cambodia to work amongst his own people. And so he established a Bible college called the Tahas Bible Institute, and where they train pastors. Now that's an amazing story in itself, the kind of pastors that they train, because they only get to go for 5 or 6 modules of 10 days each, and they start planting churches. While we here have to wait for 4 years to get a bachelor's degree and 2 years to get a master's degree. And by the way, I'm not against education. I have a master's degree myself. That's not the point. The point is the glory of God in choosing people all over the world. But the amazing thing I heard is in one of these stories, his bookkeeper, who was not being trained for anything, in his village, which was about 60 kilometers away, there were many children. His sister had many children. And he began to develop a real burden for these children. So every 2 weeks, he would get on his little motor scooter with his wife and 2 kids on that, go over bumpy dirt roads, and start preaching the gospel. And guess what? In no time at all, there was a church of 70 children there. He shows his glory in the kinds of people that he chooses as well. But I want to focus now on the other one, the glory of the Lamb. Remember the double-edged glory. Not only the glory of the Lion revealed, the glory of the Lamb revealed. The glory of the Lamb revealed in many ways. First of all, in the spectacular courage and commitment that I see people demonstrate in these very difficult places. I want to read for you this story that came from the Harvest Partner. Every Home for Christ is an organization that distributes literature all over the world. And this is a story of a group of men. They call themselves Team Hela. Let me read about them. For 2 grueling weeks, this group of EHC workers pushed their way towards the heart of Hela province in the mountains of Papua New Guinea. At the start of the trip, they hitched rides on backcountry roads, but by the second week, the roads had given way to shoulder-wide paths through dense rainforest where no vehicle could pass. On the last day of their journey, they set out at 5:30 in the morning, expecting to arrive at the first village by sundown. But when the sun set, they were only halfway there, so they kept walking. By nightfall, all 9 members of the team were walking barefoot because their shoes had worn out, climbing up and up into the mountains, crossing rivers, and coming out the other side with leeches sucking at their ankles. Slung over their shoulders were plastic bags loaded with boxes of gospel message. Their eyes kept darting to the surrounding jungle because the government had declared this a no-go zone. They knew they could be ambushed at any moment. The deeper Team Hela ventured into Hela province, the more dangers they risked. And then all of a sudden it started to rain. Through the dark of night they proceeded, silent, cold, and stumbling. At 6 a.m. they lit a bonfire and lay shivering beside it. All of a sudden an old woman stepped into the light. A Christian believer, she had heard that Christian workers were coming to her village, and she had gone out to meet them. She brought sugarcane and sweet potatoes, provisions which were most welcome. The team had run out of food almost 12 hours earlier. What kind of courage is that? I don't know anything about that kind of courage. It's the glory of the Lamb. They are willing to recapitulate in their lives the suffering of Jesus. And it is the glory of Jesus that makes people willing to do something like that. You also see it in much more humbler ways. That's a spectacular illustration. You also see it in much more humble ways. One of our friends works in the country of Tajikistan. And there's a 20-year-old girl who became a follower of Jesus at the age of 18. Recently, they celebrated her 20th birthday. And she said, what would you like for your 20th birthday? I mean, most 20-year-olds here, if you ask them what they would like for their birthday, I don't know, iPhone X, maybe, or something else like that. She said, I just want to spend 2 days worshiping Jesus with other Christians and studying the Bible. That's the glory of the Lamb.